What else? Not on the podcast. Good
What's up, everybody? Hope everybody's having a good day. It is September 22nd at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. We have one NFL game on tonight. Detroit Lions at Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore Ravens lead the all-time series in this matchup, 6 wins to 1 win. So they're 6-1 against Detroit all-time. Baltimore won 4 of those games by 5+ points. Last I saw, Baltimore is projected to win this game by 4.5 points. Goff, quarterback for the Lions, has an 0-3 career record against the Baltimore Ravens. JB, what are you thinking about this game?
I don't know. This game comes with some implications. And this could be a blowout. This could be a defensive game, a defensive battle. You can have I think it really comes down to coaching decisions on this one, because I think that's where Baltimore really struggled. It's obviously, I don't think it's really what's up, Steve, though. It's not a offense by any means, nor is it really. I mean, sometimes it'd be defense kicking, but really they've had a lackluster of coaching decisions.
Yeah. The projected total in this game, the scoring total is at 53.5 last I saw. I did mention that these teams played each other 7 times throughout history, and only 1 out of 7 of those times has a game between these two teams scored 54 or more points. With that being said, though, Detroit was the best ATS last season, and but that has to do with the spread. Baltimore was the second best in games to the over last season. They were 13-5-1 to the over. Detroit was 10-8 to the over, 1-0 to the over as a road underdog. I was checking the weather for this game. I don't think weather is going to play much of a factor. And then I did see Isaiah Likely is still out of this game. Now, when I'm looking at the passing aspect of this game, I do think Detroit has a pretty good passing advantage. They rank 4th in passing yards per game this season. Detroit.
Time of possession as well.
Time of possession, yeah.
Now they rank 4th, while Baltimore's 31st.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and points per game, yeah, Baltimore with 1st, and Detroit's in that 4th.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, time of possession's big. There's a lot of statistics, that I don't talk about on here that are important. So that's kind of the idea is for you guys to tune in, listen to what I got, and then bring your own stuff and come up with the best decision. But anyways, yeah, Detroit ranks 4th in passing yards per game. They finished 2nd in passing yards per game last season, which is really impressive because they ranked 25th in passing play percentage last season. So they were calling a high percentage of rushing plays relative to the other teams in the league, and so was Baltimore. Baltimore actually ranked 31st in passing play percentage last season. Both of these teams are still calling a high percentage of rushing plays compared to the rest of the league. Detroit this season ranks 16th in passing play percentage. Baltimore ranks 26th in passing play percentage. The line suggests that Detroit may have to throw a little bit more than Baltimore tonight. I expect Detroit to throw the ball more than Baltimore tonight, and Baltimore tried to impose their will on the ground. Now, with that being said, Baltimore's pass defense, they have allowed the second most passing yards per game this season, and they ranked 27th in passing yards allowed per game last season. So their pass defense has been pretty bad in regards to yardage allowed per game, not just this season, but last season. With that being said, there were a couple of vulnerabilities that I was looking at, and
They both ranked the same in total turnover differential, total defensive interceptions, and sacks as well. Sacks, they're just barely. I mean, they're both similar with 29th and 27th, 3 for Baltimore, 4 for Detroit, whereas INTs, they both ranked 17th in turnover differential 10, which is, top 10.
so I was looking to see kind of where, Detroit would look to exploit the pass defense. And somebody I had in mind was Gibbs and Montgomery, the running backs for Detroit. Gibbs, last I saw, his over-under on receiving yards was 24.5. He had 58 receiving yards in one career game against Baltimore. He's only played Baltimore one time throughout his career, had 58 receiving yards. Last season, he had 25 or more receiving yards in 11 out of 18 games. He's gone over the 24.5 receiving yards in 1 out of 2 games this season. I do think that he could get that again here today. Baltimore has allowed the 6th most receiving yards to running backs this season. In last season, receiving yards allowed to running backs by Baltimore. Let me see where they ranked. They allowed the 4th most last season. So I was looking at a box score in the Detroit Lions game, and it was the game against, let's see, which game was it? It was against Green Bay. Gibbs had 10 receptions for 31 yards in that game. He led the team in targets over Laporta in that game. So, it is possible for him to see a lot of targets. And another guy I was looking at, Montgomery. His over-under on receiving yards was 12.5 last I saw. He went over that in 1 out of 2 games this season. He went over that in 11 out of 15 games last season. Well, he did not get that in his one career game against Baltimore. So if I were to pick between the two running backs, Gibbs and Montgomery for receiving yards, I would go with Gibbs. Receptions, I would probably lean towards Montgomery over 1.5. But I would still, I'm still, out of all of those plays, receptions and receiving yards, I think I would go with Gibbs over the 24.5. And then tight ends. Baltimore receiving yards allowed to tight ends last season. They allowed the 3rd most. This season, they've allowed the Oh, excuse me. This season, they've allowed the third most. Last season, they allowed the ninth most. Receiving yards to tight ends. Laporta, last I saw, his over-under on receiving yards was 44.5. He went over that in 1 out of 2 games this season. Last season, he went over that in 10 out of 17 games. And he's had 52 receiving yards in 1 out of 1 career games against Baltimore. So I was thinking, Laporta could get active in the passing game as well. And then for Baltimore in the passing game, and I was kind of waiting for your thoughts on this, JB. DeAndre Hopkins over under 19.5 receiving yards. He's gone over that total in 2 out of 2 career games against Detroit. He went over that total in 12 out of 19 games last season. DeAndre Hopkins actually leads the NFL in yards per catch this season. And Detroit allows they're below average in yards allowed per completion this season. So, do you think DeAndre Hopkins, has a solid game tonight? Do you think he gets over that? Do you think he has 20 or more receiving yards tonight, JB?
Man, to be honest with you, he probably does, but I hope it's Zay Flowers.
You hope it's Zay Flowers,
Yeah, I got Zay on the team, bro. I need Zay. I need Zay to give me a real big game.
Well, he's getting a ton of targets this season, Zay Flowers.
Yeah, I seen that. I seen he had 14 receptions, 218 yards, 1 touchdown, with 15.6 average last week. He just last week.
Yeah, man. So he had 11 targets against Cleveland. And then when they played Buffalo, he had 9 targets. Yeah, 143 yards like you were just talking about against Buffalo. And
maybe this is what he averaged. So hold on. He has how many yards in the season?
This season, he has 75 plus 143.
Yeah. So 218. Yeah. Okay. I was just trying to see what I was looking at. It was exactly game total. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, you know what? I like it. I would say to go. I know Bag. He's saying that D Hop can have a pretty good game this week or tonight. So I like it. I'll go with Bag's choice.
And Detroit, they ranked 31st in passing yards allowed per game last season. I know they were dealing with some injuries this season. They ranked 12th in that category, so they're doing much better this season. Now they've only played Green Bay, who has a high running play percentage call, and they played Chicago. Just seeing the way Caleb Williams went up against that Cowboys defense yesterday, I think it is saying something about this Detroit pass defense, the fact that they contained Caleb Williams pretty well. I'm not saying Detroit's pass defense is necessarily elite this season, but I think it could be a little bit better than last season. Now, the reason why I was talking about those wide receivers for Baltimore is because Detroit did allow the most receiving yards to wide receivers last season, and they actually rank 8th worst this season. Now, Flowers, his over-under on receiving yards is 70.5. He's gone over that in 2 out of 2 games this season. He went over that total in 7 out of 17 games last season. He went over that in 1 career game against Detroit. He had 75 receiving yards. He's getting a lot of targets. If you like Zay Flowers today, you got that going for you. Bateman, 36.5 is his over-under last I saw. He's gone under that in both games this season, went over in 10 out of 19 games last season, and he's gone under that in 1 career games against Detroit. He had 36 receiving yards. And then Hopkins, I already mentioned Hopkins. And those were really the vulnerabilities I saw in the passing game for both of these teams. The wide receiver position for Detroit's pass defense.
Yeah, Detroit's got a couple injuries too. They got Davenport's out. Decker, it's not injury related. He's questionable. Joseph, he's questionable. He's cornerback, their DB, and then Campbell, linebackers. Full participant has him as questionable as well. Whereas the Ravens seem to be pretty much fully healthy except for Isaiah White.
Yeah, and so Mark Andrews is definitely somebody that people are going to be looking at in this game.
Yeah.
I do want to mention that Detroit did good at defending against yardage and receptions allowed to tight ends last season, and they've done a good job at that this season. They allowed the third fewest receiving yards to tight ends last season. This season, they're allowing the fifth fewest. Receptions allowed to tight ends this season and last season, they've allowed the third fewest. With that being said, last I saw, Mark Andrews over-under on receiving yards was at 34.5. He's gone over that in 12 out of 19 games last season. He's gone over that in 2 out of 2 career games against Detroit. But Andrews has only had one reception in each game this season, even with, likely being out. So,
Blessed up P's in the house. What's up, buddy?
hey, what's good? Blessed up, Pete. Thanks for joining, man. Hope you're having a good day. Now, the rush. I want to talk about the rushing game a little bit here. Detroit did excellent on both sides, or not Detroit. Baltimore did excellent on both sides of the ball last season. I believe they ranked first in rushing yards per game last season. Yeah, they did. And rushing yards allowed per game, I believe they ranked first as well. This season, it's a small sample size, but there will be overtime. Blessed up, P. Yeah, I can see that, man. This season, I do see that Baltimore, has a slight rushing advantage. Now, Detroit had a good rush defense last season in regards to rushing yards allowed per game. They ranked 6th best. This season, they rank 15th in rushing yards allowed per game. Baltimore ranked 1st best last season. They ranked 17th this season in rushing yards allowed per game. I didn't look too much into player props for rushing yards in this one. But if you were looking for, if I were to have to pick a running back to rush well in this game out of all of the running backs, my first look would be Derrick Henry. Just because Detroit's rushing yards allowed per game was worse last season than Baltimore's, and Baltimore has a higher rushing play calling percentage. Now, with all that being said, I think something that we have to absolutely look at, right, is Lamar Jackson rushing capabilities. Last season, Detroit allowed the 4th most rushing yards to quarterbacks. Last season, Detroit allowed the 3rd most rushing touchdowns to quarterbacks. I know their defense was a bit unhealthy last season, but I do think that there, is a decent possibility that Lamar Jackson picks up some yardage and maybe scores, 1+ touchdown on the ground this game. What are you feeling, JB? Do you think Lamar Jackson has a good rushing game here?
Yeah, I like his chances. I mean, as long as he can hold on the ball, he's had 2 fumbles, costly fumbles. As long as he can hold on the ball, I mean, obviously anybody's better doing that than. Yeah, I like Derrick. I'm gonna expect him to come out and have a better game, kind of make up for his last 2. I mean, he did good on the ground. He's got 192 yards, 29 attempts, 2 tutties. 6.662 average. But yeah, I like him.
Lamar Jackson over under rushing yards 45.5. He's gone over that in 1 out of 2 career games against Detroit. He went over that total in 12 out of 19 games last season. I was looking at Lamar Jackson's game log from last season, and there were not a lot of games that he scored a rushing touchdown in. I can just look it up real quick. Lamar Jackson game log is what I'll type into my search engine here, filter it by 2024. He played in 19 games last season. He had a rushing touchdown in 1, 2, 3, 4 games out of 19. So
I got a question there. Christian C-Top, Gibbs and Derek Lewis over 65 yards. Lamar over 65 yards rushing. I think Jackson, Lewis, and Gibbs to have 65 plus yards. I guess it's not really a question mark.
Rushing, I would have to lean towards Baltimore picking up the rush yards. Passing, I would have to lean more towards Detroit picking up those yards. I would expect Baltimore to lead this game in rushing yards and Detroit to lead this game in passing yards. But I do think that Detroit's passing advantage is more significant than Baltimore's rushing advantage. And I'm looking at, rushing yards per game versus rushing yards allowed per game for both teams, passing yards per game, passing yards allowed per game for both teams, and not just this season, but last season. It's still a little bit early in the season right now to be looking at this season's statistics, but it's better than nothing. I think we'll get a lot better idea of these defenses after this game tonight. I think both defenses are going to be truly tested in this game. Now, when I'm looking at third down conversion advantage, I'd give Baltimore a slight third down conversion advantage. Red zone attempts advantage, I'd give Detroit that advantage. Red zone conversion advantage, I would give Detroit that advantage. And then I would also give Detroit a sacks on the quarterback advantage. With all that being said, JB, do you think Baltimore wins this game by 5+ points?
Oh, man.
Let's start here. Who do you think wins this game?
Yeah, I think they win it, but I think Baltimore wins by 5+ points. Yeah.
You think Baltimore wins by 5+?
Yeah. Last matchup they had on October 21st, just 2023. So tides have changed, teams have changed a little bit. But it was a blowout, 38-6.
Wow.
So, yeah, I like it. I'm not saying the Lions haven't gotten better. They've probably actually gotten better, but again, step back with losing coordinators. It has shown. I think they're 500. Yeah, they're 500. So, we've seen two different sides of Detroit so far with these first 2 games. So, like you said, this is going to tell a lot week 3, but that is week 1 is just fake. Whatever you see in week 1, you can't really believe. Week 2, kind of, people are going where they kind of belong. Week 3, it's really more so telling. You kind of got more of a telltale sign of where teams are headed.
You know what this game kind of reminds me of, JB, is the Bills versus Ravens game earlier this season. Yeah. I remember asking you who you liked in that game. You were like, dude, this is a close matchup, and I'm just going with whoever's at home.
Yeah.
And,
same
probably the same type of deal here.
Yeah. I think it's a close thing. I think the only thing that really separates them, like I said, with Detroit losing their coaching, a lot of the coaching staff, defensive and offensive coordinator, we'll really find out tonight what both of those sides are. But if you didn't have that, I would say it's a coin toss, just like Buffalo and Baltimore, right? Just I gave it to the home team.
Yeah.
The same thing, I got to rock with Baltimore. I think that's why that they will cover the 5, right? Is because of the coaching. Like I said at the very beginning, coaching. Baltimore has had issues with head coaching calls. Detroit's lost coaching, offense coordinator, defense coordinator. So it's going to be a coaching game. It's going to be whoever makes that puts their team in the best position to win this game. I think is who's going to really come out on top. I don't think this really comes out to. I mean, it could come out to you just because they're at home, but I don't. I think it's just coaching. I think this is where it just boils down to this game. They kind of match up pretty well on either side.
Yeah. I'll have to say that I think it will be a close game, and I'm going to go ahead and pick the Lions plus 4.5. I do not believe the Lions will lose this game by 5+ points. But my final score prediction in this game is going to be 28-27. Baltimore barely edges this game. Baltimore wins 28-27. I was thinking about Detroit possibly winning this game. I wouldn't be surprised if they did, but after thinking about it a little bit more, I'll go ahead and say 28-27. Baltimore wins this game. Now, there's a reason why I predicted the score 28-27. So the last 4 times that the Baltimore Ravens have played on September 22nd, 3 out of 4 of those games, they scored exactly 28 points. In the Lions, the last 3 times that they have played on September 22nd, 2 out of 3 of those times, they scored 27 points. So let's see if history repeats itself.
I like it.
Let's see if history repeats itself. But
I like that kind of stuff. I'm like, you going? I'm like,
So who's your player of the game, JB?
Player of the game. Top of my head, DeAndre Hopkins. First name that came to my mind.
Hopkins?
Yeah, player of the game, DeAndre Hopkins. I don't know why. Like I said, I just first. I want it to be Zay Flash. I also need I need a kicker. I need a kicker over there in Detroit. And I got something else. I need another guy. St. Brown, I think. Maybe not. I don't know. But I need somebody. I need 2 people to go off over there. Detroit. I need Zay Flash. That way I can remain 3-0 in fantasy football.
I didn't touch on any of the Detroit wide receivers, but man, I'm thinking Williams could have a big touchdown, a long touchdown catch. St. Brown, I think the other week he had three touchdowns. It's going to be hard to replicate that.
St. Brown's been getting a lot of targets. He has 17 targets. Williams is 9. Laporta's 13. Gibbs has even gotten 13. Then they got the Tesla guy. He's gotten 2 targets, 2 catches, 42 yards, 1 touchdown. Laporta out of 13 targets, he's got 9 of them, 9 catches for 105 yards, no tutties though. St. Brown, he's got 13 receptions out of 17 targets, 160 yards, 3 touchdowns. Williams, gosh, I hope Williams is out tonight just because A-Train's got him. Williams has 6 catches, 131 yards, 9 targets, 1 touchdown. So, I mean, they got some pretty good sure hands over there. They get the ball thrown a lot. I did watch something with St. Brown. That dude's got some hands.
Yeah, I could definitely see St. Brown, being the player of this game again. I think when it comes down to it, man, I think Goff will be able to have his way with the Ravens' pass defense in this game whenever he needs to. Man, I
Who's your player of the
actually.
game?
What's that?
Who's your player of the game?
I don't want to go with Goff, a quarterback, but I would say like the person who I think is going to have the best game out of like a positional player. Probably, dude. Honestly, probably. I'm gonna say Jameson Williams, and it's kind of a sleeper. I'm not saying Saint Brown or Laporta. Just give me some Jameson Williams. I didn't look into his history against Baltimore a lot. I would do that before you guys make any moves on him. But something that I do like about Williams is that he ranked second best in the NFL in yards per catch this season. Baltimore opponent yards per completion, they ranked 16th yards per. I'm thinking last season they ranked worse in that category. Let me double check. Baltimore, ranked 23rd in that category last season. And dude, Josh Allen torched the Baltimore Ravens pass defense.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think, Goff could very well do the same thing tonight.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, I
honestly,
didn't think
I
about
would
that.
not be surprised to see Detroit win this game. I like Detroit plus 4.5, guys.
Yeah.
But I am going to say 28-27 Baltimore wins this game. And yeah.
Yeah, I think they got a good shot. If they can stop the rush, they got a shot. Contain Lamar. It's easier said than done, though.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's what Detroit really has to focus on, containing Lamar Jackson, containing Derrick Henry. You take that away from him and make him pass the ball,
Yep.
I think they'll be in better position to win the game if they can contain those two guys on the ground. But I remember last season, Baltimore went up against, I think it was like the second best rush defense and torched them. So it's like Baltimore's really good at running the ball. So
Absolutely. And that's always going to be their strong point, at least as long as they got um, Lamar and Harbaugh at home. His bread and butter, it seems. I mean, he's went through a plethora of running backs over there and good ones, too. Multiples of them, too. Willis McGahee, Mark Ingram, same time. He's had just bruisers.
yeah. Well, any other thoughts on this game, JB? That's about it for me. I think
Yeah, that's
what's
about
that?
it. That's about it. I don't have nothing.
Cool,
I think we
cool.
can be here tomorrow and kind of recap everything now.
Yeah, if not tomorrow, maybe maybe Wednesday.
Wednesday's cool.
Cool,
Same.
cool. All right, guys. Well, good luck tonight. Thanks for joining.
Yep. Appreciate you guys staying on move.
This non-casual podcast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or reused without the authorized written consent of the Not Move Podcast Network. Thank you, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.